You think of a school as a place of safety, a place for learning. But for more and more students and staff, it's becoming a place tied to fear. Today, we're going to dive into 3 really unsettling firsthand accounts of what it's actually like to live through a school lockdown. These are the moments that change absolutely everything.
It's just 5 words, but man, they hit you like a ton of bricks when you hear them over a school loudspeaker. They signaled that shift from just another boring day to a real, genuine crisis. That one little phrase tells everyone, the threat is real.
All right, so let's get into our first story. It starts out in the most ordinary setting you can imagine, but it just spirals into chaos so fast. And what makes this one so chilling is that the terror comes from a danger that's faceless. You can hear it, but you can't see it.
So picture this, it's 7th period on a Friday. Spring break is literally right around the corner. The teacher is super chill. He's even playing online trivia games with the class. I mean, it is the definition of a normal, winding down kind of school day. Nothing seems off at all.
And then, bam, everything just flips in an instant. The sequence of events is so jarring and so fast. First, the dean's panicked voice announces the lockdown. The teacher, who's normally so relaxed, just springs into action, shutting off all the lights. Then, the whole building goes silent as the power is cut. And in that dead silence, a new sound starts. A man screaming at the top of his lungs, and he's getting closer.
So now, this faceless threat, it has a voice, and it is terrifying. As the screaming man gets closer, he starts violently banging on the lockers, just shouting this awful threat. Inside that classroom, you can imagine, the students are just paralyzed with fear. This isn't just some drill anymore. It's a direct, violent threat just a few feet away.
And just when you think it can't get any worse, it does. The terror gets closer. The banging moves from the lockers directly to their classroom door. So now, the only thing between these students and this screaming intruder is a single piece of wood and a lock, and he's just pounding on it, trying to get in. So the immediate danger is over, but there's no real resolution here. This is where the story gets really weird. Just 10 minutes later, the dean comes back on the loudspeaker and says the man can't be found. Okay, but that night, a janitor finds him asleep in a storage closet. And there's this rumor he has a .44 Magnum. But before the police can even get there, he's gone. Just vanished into thin air. Never found.
Okay, so our second story shifts gears a little bit. The fear moves from an unknown stranger inside the school to a known danger right across the street. And this time the threat has a face and a really, really disturbing history. So this whole thing kicks off during lunch with 4 loud booms. Now, it's an overcast, rainy day, so at first, everybody just thinks it's thunder. But pretty quickly, seeing the reaction of the lunch crowd and the security guards, it becomes clear that nope, something is seriously wrong here.
And then the details about this guy start coming out, and they are absolutely chilling. He's barricaded in his house, threatening violence. But it gets so much darker. Turns out he's a registered sex offender whose students had actually seen watching them before. And get this, just months earlier, on Halloween, he was seen cutting his own arm and writing "I'll kill you" on his window in his own blood.
All right, this last story, this one is, wow, it's maybe the most intense of them all. This is a direct, face-to-face encounter with an armed intruder. We're not talking about a threat in the hall or across the street. This is being trapped in the exact same room as the danger.
The narrator here is a recent college grad. He's working as a computer intern, and he finds himself in this terrifyingly vulnerable spot. He's down in a basement office that doesn't even have a real door, and the main entrance to the basement can't be locked. So when the lockdown is announced, he has almost no way to keep himself safe. So he's been hiding there in the dark for about 20 minutes, and then he hears it. That sound you're absolutely dreading, the creak of the basement door opening. He hears footsteps running down the stairs, and then they're getting closer to his open-air office. He's not alone anymore. He dives under his desk, just trying to hold his breath. A man is now in his office, and after a moment of just pure terror, the narrator feels like he has no choice. He has to reveal himself. The intruder grabs his arm, pulls him up, and says these words, these deceptively reassuring words, claiming he's just another guy trying to find a safe place to hide.
And this is where his blood just runs cold. A text message comes in from a coworker warning him, describing the shooter. Red shirt, red hat. He looks up at the man standing right in front of him. Red plaid shirt, reddish-black cap. It's him. It's a perfect match. The person who's claiming to be hiding with him is the person everyone is hiding from.
He knows. The guy knows he's been made. So what do? You run. The narrator makes a desperate run for it, up the stairs. And as he's fleeing, a gunshot just rings out in that confined space of the basement. He can literally hear the bullet ricochet off something metal in the dark. He was just shot at.
So, in all these stories, the immediate threat eventually ends, right? But that's not where the story really stops. The experience leaves a permanent scar. So now we're going to look at what actually happened in the end and the psychological impact that just lingers for those who survived.
So let's just quickly recap what happened to these guys. The screaming man from that first story, he just vanished, became like a ghost story at the school, never found. The barricaded man from the second story, well, the situation was vaguely settled by the authorities, whatever that means. It's only in that third story that we get a clear resolution. The gunman was arrested by police as he was trying to get out of the basement.
You know, in that last, really awful story, there's one small piece of good news. The teacher who was shot, a man named Mr. Buckley, he actually survived his injuries. It's a small thing, but it's a significant moment of relief in what is otherwise just a terrifying story.
But just because you survive something, that doesn't mean you just go back to normal. This final quote from the third narrator really captures the heart of the aftermath. The physical threat might be gone, but the memory, the sound, the absolute terror of that moment, that stays with you forever.
And that really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? These are all stories about survival, yeah? But they also show its hidden price. That lingering fear of a threat that was never resolved. The anxiety of knowing a danger is right next door. The trauma of a direct confrontation. When the lockdown ends and the doors finally unlock, the experience is far from over. It just echoes. So what really is the true cost of survival?